You're watching KCCI 8 News, Close Up.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us for a special edition of KCCI 8 News Close Up. I'm Chief Political Reporter Amanda Rooker from the Iowa State Fair. For the last 11 days, candidates have come here to shake hands, make their pitch, and compete for the attention of Iowa voters. But as the state fair comes to a close, the races that they're running in are getting even more competitive. On Thursday, the nonpartisan Cook Political Report shifted two of Iowa's biggest races toward Democrats. The open U.S. Senate race between Republican Ashley Hinson and Democrat Josh Turek moved from lean Republican to a toss-up. And the race for governor between Republican Zach Lane and Democrat Rob Sand moved from toss-up to lean Democrat. Now, this is a significant shift in a state President Trump won by 13 percentage points just 2 years ago, and in a state where there are about 200,000 more registered Republicans than Democrats. But Democratic candidates here have been making the case that Iowa voters are ready for change. That includes Democratic Senate candidate Josh Turek and Democratic District 3 candidate Sarah Trongariot. Both spoke on the Des Moines Register's political soapbox stage during the first week of the Iowa State Fair.
By every single metric, this state is going in the wrong direction. We are one of 3 states already seeing our economy contract. I want to make sure that the American dream is still accessible to every single person. That's why I'm out there laser focused. A livable wage, affordable housing, affordable health care, driving down cost to the middle class. That is what you're going to get from me. A senator for all Iowans, regardless, Republican, Independent, or Democrat.
I saw how politicians were making life harder for my neighbors. I saw how politicians were making our work more difficult to help them. And so that's why I ran for the state Senate. Because my legislators were not showing up in the community. They were not listening, so they were not helping us. And my community deserved better. And so, as a state senator, it's been incredibly important to me to make sure that I am showing up.
Iowa has an open U.S. Senate race this year and 2 of the most competitive U.S. House races in the country. Those races will help decide not only just who represents Iowa, but the balance of power in Washington. And some big names in Republican politics made their way to the Iowa State Fair to help make that case. Members of President Trump's cabinet crisscrossed the state and the fairgrounds, including U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who campaigned here with Congressman Zach Nunn. We'll hear from him and Nunn this morning. But first, Republicans are also fighting to keep Iowa's open U.S. Senate seat in their column. Congresswoman Ashley Hinson took the Des Moines Register political soapbox stage on Monday, just days before the Cook Political Report moved her race against Josh Turek into the toss-up category. Here's part of the case that Hinson made to Iowa voters.
The reason I'm running for office is because it's about the next generation. It's about our kids. I'm a mom with a minivan. I have 2 teenage boys, and I think nothing prepares you better for serving in Congress or the U.S. Senate than being a mom to teenagers. There's a lot of problems in Washington, D.C., but I can tell you this, that I have delivered in my time as a Congresswoman in Northeast Iowa. I have worked on bipartisan priorities that are Iowans' priorities, because I can tell you, as I traveled through my congressional district and around all 99 counties, I want to continue to tell Iowans stories. The stories of moms who have suffered stillbirth and are heartbroken about that experience. So what did I do? I worked with a group from right here in Des Moines, Count the Kicks and Healthy Birthday, listened to those families who had suffered such terrible circumstances in losing a child, worked with them to get key legislation across the finish line in a bipartisan way so that we can have more healthy moms and healthy babies. Our Stillbirth Prevention Act was signed into law by President Biden. And while we're here today celebrating our veterans, we know that not all war wounds are visible. And we had an Iowa veteran named Sergeant Brandon Ketchum, who went to seek service at the VA in Iowa City. And he was turned away, and he later took his own life that day. And I worked across the aisle to get the Sergeant Brandon Ketchum Veterans Mental Health Act signed into law so that no matter what your zip code is, veterans can get the mental health care that they need. And I worked very hard listening to you because I heard one big thing. You wanted lower taxes and less government. So we delivered no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, reduced taxes for Social Security, directly targeted at the middle class because it's not the government's money, it's your money. So I will promise you this, as your next U.S. Senator, I know there is more to do. I know families are getting squeezed. I know we have to do more to lower prescription drug prices. And if you just saw the news, they are at a 60-year low, but I know there's more to do to hold those shady PBM PBMs and big pharma companies accountable. And I just introduced a piece of legislation last week to hold big health insurance companies accountable. I think those priorities are pretty clear. You've got Nantucket Turek, who is focused on raising your taxes and supporting policies that put parents last, put taxpayers last, and put farmers last here in Iowa. And then you have a bipartisan fighter who has delivered consistently for our great state. Who do you want in the U.S. Senate? Ashley Hinson?
Hinson's opponent, Josh Turek, also spoke here at the fair on the soapbox stage. We brought you his speech last week on KCCI 8 News Close Up. We also aired what Democrat Sarah Trongariet told fairgoers during her time on the soapbox stage. She's running in Iowa's 3rd congressional district race. You can find both of their speeches right now on our website, kcci.com. Just click the close-up tab under politics. Trongariet's Republican opponent, Congressman Zach Nunn, spoke at the soapbox last Monday. He's fighting to keep his seat in one of the most competitive U.S. House races in the country. Here's what Nunn told fairgoers about what he's done in Congress so far and why he believes voters should send him back for another term.
It's a privilege to get to serve, but one of the things I hear most from our 500 listening sessions are things that you, as Iowans, want to see Washington do. And the good news is, we've got a pretty good playbook right here in Iowa on how to do it right. Many of you in this room, when I came back from my deployment, helped me run for my first office. Granted, it was a blue district, and they told us we could never win. But with a lot of hard work, we did. 3 times over. And as a result of that, we started delivering on things that matter to Iowans. Like, hey, just let me keep a little more of my hard-earned money in my pocket. Because I'll tell you what Iowans do with it. They spend it on their families. They spend it on their farm, they spend it on their businesses, but most importantly, they invest right here. That's how you grow an economy. So we took what we did in the Iowa State Legislature by passing the largest tax cut in Iowa's history, and we went straight to Washington and did the same thing. The largest tax cut in American history. But more than that, it's meaningful tax cuts. It means that every family is going to get $3,000 back. It means, thank you, Gary. It means that everybody like Erica, we're going to cross the street here, gets to keep more of her tax dollars that she then gets to spend on being able to finish community college. It means that our great law enforcement and our first responders and our nurses up the street get to keep the money they've earned on overtime. We're going to double shift for them. It means that's helping directly pay for their family, not bleed that money out to Washington. I'm proud of what we've been able to do, but I will highlight this. It's not easy. You know this. Together, we brought nearly $200 million back to Iowa. That's money we went in front of an appropriations committee and advocated each one of you could do better than folks in Washington. Now here's a huge part of this. With E15, with the Farm Bill, and with others, we've had to find our own leadership. In fact, I really respect Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. But there was a time where they were going to try and roll Iowans on this, where they were going to tell us again, Iowa, just wait. Well, we didn't take no for an answer. And every time we've seen Washington not delivering for us, we have fought back. Whether it's a Democrat, a Republican, or the Washington institution, we've delivered. I can't do it without your support. Each of you is part of our wingman team. Each of you gets to have a voice for Iowa. And by any standard, let's send folks to Washington who put Iowa first. I'm honored to fight with you. We're going to see you soon.
Former U.S. Ambassador to China and former Iowa Governor Terry Branstad came out to the state fair to support Zach Nunn. Branstad is the longest-serving governor in American history, and he's done plenty of campaigning at the state fair himself. I talked to him about that and what's at stake this election cycle. You know, you've watched Iowa politics for decades. What feels different about the political landscape in Iowa this year?
Well, of course, we don't have incumbents running for governor or senator, so it's a wide-open situation. But the Iowa State Fair is a great place to campaign. So I'm pleased to be here with Zach Nunn, our congressman. I think he's done a great job. And obviously I'm very supportive of our other Republican candidates. But this is the best place to meet Iowans.
You've spent a lot of time campaigning at the state fair over the years. What makes it different than just any old campaign event or rally?
You see people from all 99 counties, and people are in a good mood at the state fair. It's a great way to see all the wonderful livestock and other exhibits, and people are in a good mood. And I love the Iowa State Fair. It's one of the best things we have.
There's still much more to come on this special edition of KCCI 8 News Close Up. Several Trump administration officials spent time at the fair joining the Iowa Republicans who are on the ballot this November. That includes Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, how he's framing the war in Iran and the stakes of keeping Iowa's 3rd District seat in Republican hands. And Iowa farmers are looking for new markets as the farm economy struggles. Why the head of a major ethanol trade group says expanding biofuels could help, and what she's hearing from Iowa farmers right now. Welcome back to KCCI 8 News Close Up here at the Iowa State Fair. As some of Iowa's biggest races this fall are getting more competitive, some of the most high-profile officials in the Trump administration spent some time here in the Hawkeye State. Over the last 11 days, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, the HHS Secretary, and the U.S. Treasury Secretary all made stops here in Iowa. So have the heads of the Small Business Administration and Veterans Affairs, along with the U.S. Trade Representative. Some came for official events. Others also used their time in Iowa to campaign for Republican candidates. That includes Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. I was there as he joined Congressman Zach Nunn here at the State Fair. And the war with Iran hung over Hegseth's appearance. It's a conflict that's claimed the lives of Iowa service members and driven up the cost of fuel and fertilizer. But while Hegseth was here in Iowa, he defended the U.S. mission as he rallied support for Nunn's re-election.
For Hegseth, Nunn's military experience was central to his pitch. He said Nunn's voice carries weight in Congress.
You know where he stands, he's clear about it, and he's willing to take the tough votes to do the right thing on behalf of our warfighters.
Sitting defense secretaries rarely hit the campaign trail, especially while overseeing an active war. Hegseth stressed that legally he was visiting Iowa in a personal capacity.
Even though, according to the lawyers, I'm only here in a personal capacity today.
But his political pitch was closely tied to the work he's doing as defense secretary. Hegseth is pushing for a $1.5 trillion defense budget next year, a 42% increase. He told the crowd that Nunn is the kind of ally service members need in Congress to secure that investment.
For the men and women who are fighting on our behalf, they deserve overwhelming firepower at every moment to devastatingly defeat our enemies. That's what they deserve. That requires investment. That also requires votes, and tough votes.
Those tough votes include how much to spend and whether to keep supporting U.S. operations in Iran, a war that's already hit close to home. Hegseth's visit was postponed in March after an Iranian drone strike in Kuwait killed 2 of Nunn's constituents, Major Jeffrey O'Brien of Waukee and Sergeant Declan Cody of West Des Moines.
There is a cost to doing very difficult things, to going out and defending your country and ensuring radical Islamist crazies don't get a nuclear weapon.
Hegseth defended that cost and directly connected the mission to Nunn's race, arguing Congress needs members who understand and support it.
That really matters. There's an amplifying effect to that kind of leadership in Congress that matters a lot to me.
Nunn has backed the U.S. mission in Iran while saying he doesn't want a, quote, forever war. He's also voted against efforts in Congress to end U.S. involvement. His Democratic opponent, Sarah Trone-Garriott, takes a different position.
We need someone who is going to make life more affordable and not jack up the costs. And we need someone who's going to bring this war to an end, not cheer it on.
Hegseth argued the administration can pursue its objectives in Iran without getting stuck in a forever war, saying the U.S. still needs to be careful about how it uses military force.
We need to be smart about how we use it, how and when we deploy our men and women, that mission is clear, that we ensure we give them what they need, that we don't fight the dumb nation-building wars of the past.
But as the war stretches on, the debate over what comes next is now playing out in Iowa's 3rd District race. The winner here could help decide control of the U.S. House and the direction Congress takes on the conflict.
And again, Hegseth is not the only top Trump administration official to have made their way to the state fair this week. U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche came to the state fair on Thursday, less than 2 weeks after his contentious confirmation fight. Thursday, Blanche traded Washington for the pork tent, flipping patties and pork chops alongside Iowa Attorney General Brenna Bird. And with so many White House officials coming to Iowa, Blanche was asked whether there's a political strategy behind all these visits. He says there isn't.
I promise you that to the extent that there's a grand plan for Iowa, it's that this administration cares about ranchers, cares about farmers, and I'm not surprised that there's other folks here. This is literally one of the top 10 most iconic things to do to celebrate America 250.
Blanche says U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley invited him to the fair months ago. The Attorney General also addressed the Justice Department's push for voter data. Iowa has already turned its information over, but other states are fighting the requests in court. Despite some losses there, Blanche says the Justice Department is not backing down. Still to come on Close Up, Iowa farmers are struggling and looking for new places to sell their corn. Coming up, one proposal that could boost demand nationwide and what's holding it up in Washington. Welcome back to our special edition of Close Up here at the Iowa State Fair. It's a challenging time for Iowa farmers right now, with low crop prices putting pressure on the farm economy. And one way to create some more demand could be at the gas pump. Iowa produces more ethanol than any other state, much of it from corn. Now the industry wants Congress to allow more ethanol blended gas to be sold year-round nationwide. Iowa already does that, but expanding it could mean more demand for Iowa corn. Emily Score, who represents most of the nation's ethanol producers, visited the Iowa State Fair last week. KCCI's Jody Long talked with her about the challenges facing Iowa farmers and the push to create more demand for Iowa corn.
So Emily, we are at the Iowa State Fair, of course, and you're coming at a really challenging time for farmers right now. What are you hearing in terms of what they're saying about the farm economy and ethanol production?
Well, the farm economy is not in good shape, and what I continue to hear from farmers is they need markets. We need U.S. markets for U.S. commodities, and that's where ethanol comes into play. And we've been working really well and really hard with the Farm Bureau and corn growers, articulating to Washington, D.C. the importance of pro-biofuels policy. Farmers don't want handouts right now. They want markets. They want the ability to not just export their product, but be able to use it and consume it in the form of ethanol here in the U.S.
Congress could take up nationwide year-round E15 when lawmakers return from recess. Where are things at right now with that?
We have so much momentum right now. We have an incredibly broad coalition. You've got farmers, ethanol producers, fuel retailers, and many oil refiners. They want to get this law passed that would allow year-round sales of E15 in all 50 states without any hurdles. We did have a bill pass the House in the spring, so now we're waiting for the Senate to take action. We know that it's been an active part of conversations around things like the Farm Bill, which I believe they're going to be taking back when they come back from August recess. So it's a real live ball. Senate is taking a very hard look. Leader Thune has been very clear that passing year-round E15 is a priority for him. We have broad bipartisan support for this bill because it is a lower cost fuel choice for drivers across the country. So we will continue to work with the Senate. And I will say too, the president has been very clear. He has said many times this year, bring me a bill, send this to me so I can sign it and we can do something important for American drivers who want better choices and lower prices.
In your opinion, what has been the biggest hurdle in kind of getting this across the finish line?
We have broad support for year-round E15. The hurdle becomes politics. And in this moment, to get anything out of Congress, you have to have a compromise. And we've got to be able to get the votes. And so there are senators who represent the oil refining industry in their states, and they want a compromise bill. And so we've worked very hard and said, we'll compromise. We understand we have to negotiate. We need something for ethanol, and they want some reform for the renewable fuel standard. And I think there's a place where we can get to, a nice place in the middle. So it's working through the details really on the refining side to get the votes needed to get this bill across. And I think we've got momentum, more conversation and support than ever before. So I am optimistic. It's going to take some work. It is going to take compromise, but we have no choice because we have to do this for the American farmer at the end of the day.
And Emily Score says the ethanol industry is looking beyond the gas pump for its next big market, including fuel for planes and ships. Well, still to come on Close Up, America turned 250 years old. How the Iowa State Fair marked the milestone, from a new tribute to veterans to an American story told in steel and in butter. That's next on Close Up. Welcome back to Close Up. We've spent much of this morning talking politics, but there's another piece of American history woven through this year's Iowa State Fair. They're marking the 250th birthday of our country, and there are pieces of that history told all across the fairgrounds. One of the biggest additions this year was the new We the People display near Pioneer Hall. The centerpiece is a 5,000-pound steel sculpture highlighting the milestones from agriculture and space exploration to presidents, sports, and entertainment. A 14-foot bald eagle tops the display, holding the preamble to the U.S. Constitution. The sculpture will be auctioned off during Iowa's America 250 Harvest Festival in October. Also new this year, there's the Iowa Veterans Memorial Walkway on Expo Hill. It honors generations of Iowans who served, tracing every conflict where Iowa service members have fought. This year's butter display is also celebrating America's 250th birthday. Butter sculptures have been a fair tradition since 1911, and artist Sarah Pratt is marking her 20th year creating them. Pratt spent 15 years apprenticing before taking over the job. She says this year's display also celebrates the people who make the Iowa State Fair possible.
We really wanted to represent every Iowan, and so we looked at diversity, we looked at different abilities, we looked at different skills and values, and we wanted to represent that in the sculpture. So that's where we started, and then just putting it all together and being flexible as we went.
There's also a replica of the butter cow at the Smithsonian in Washington. It's part of the exhibit called State Fair's Growing American Craft. It will be on display through September 7th. Thank you for joining us for this special edition of KCCI 8 News Close Up at the Iowa State Fair. We'll see you back here for Close Up next Sunday. Have a great day.